Hey everyone. So, having a little bit of technical difficulties trying to get a live via Zoom going. So, I'm going old school. I have Zoom on my laptop and I have my phone for my Facebook Live. So, I'm gonna just let it run. Maybe somebody can join us live. And this is officially our first Monday musing. It is hot and humid here in Maryland. It is extremely crazily hot. I am totally overdressed today, but it's been good so far. So I trust that your Monday has been going well at this last week of June. And I just wanted to pull one of the Sacred Creators Oracle cards to sort of create the energy for the week, sort of reveal what we can look forward to or something. So I trust that you have been getting enough rest and whatever that you need right now, because the energies have been extremely weird, and it's definitely been quite funky for everybody I know. So I hope that you're taking care of yourself however you need and all of that. So I just wanted to get my notes up. I had them like 5 seconds ago and now they're gone. So, because I will forget everything that I wanted to talk about if I do not have this up. I'm gonna just put this over here because I don't want to waste anyone's time any more than we have to with my ramblings, because I know I can follow some major squirrel trails and get far off topic sometimes. But that's okay. Sometimes we need intuitive guidance, right? We have to allow for space. And that's something that we don't often allow for. And so I would encourage you, if you're needing space right now, whether it's silence, whether it's more time in your life, or whatever, listen to that guidance and take it. All right, what is our greatest energy for this week? Do we need to focus on? I know what that card is. I'm not gonna pull it. It's bent, so okay. I didn't shuffle these well from last week. I'm gonna do a really good shuffle then. Because all of them were the same as what I was pulling, which is fine. Sometimes that's necessary, but we'll see what comes out this time. Handful of cards. We'll pull the top of that. Okay. Speaking of which, I am suffering from that a lot today. Overthinking can spoil the magic. Overthinking can spoil the magic. Indeed. That is very strong with this one. So oh, you're probably, if you've been following along with this past week since the launch of Authenticity Ignited group, I started with intuition, and you're probably wondering, what does that have to do with authenticity? What does that have to do with building your self-esteem, your confidence, your combating the inner critic and stuff like that? It's at the very core. And it is so important that we tap into the intuition that we are all born with, and that's sort of like taught out of us over time. And so first off, let's establish what intuition actually is. And for me, and you'll hear me say this a lot, especially if you've been following Keeper of the Old Ways for very long, is trust the inner knowing, right? So what is that inner knowing? It is our gut feeling. It's what helps us along the path to making decisions and to taking action and all of that. And if we don't have enough self-belief, if we do not trust ourselves and have the confidence in our own intuition, in our own self, then we're probably going to move into fear and totally dismiss it. So the biggest issue is trying to distinguish between what is fear and the inner critic popping in and what is actually our intuition that is guiding us toward our best interest, right? So, two things that intuition definitely isn't. First off, it's not fear, we've established that, but something, especially in the metaphysical realm and stuff like that, that intuition gets confused with is fortune telling of sorts. And that's why I have, when I do card pulls, I almost don't use tarot cards at all, hardly anymore. I love them. I love the art on them and stuff, but sometimes it's too rigid in what it's saying. And so by using just art cards or just angelic light weaving or intuitive channeling and stuff like that, there's no confusion. There is no sense of divination, or I'm not divining what the future looks like. There's no part of that in there. It's literally just slowing down, looking and listening for the signs, and tapping into that inner knowing. What does it feel like in your body? What are you hearing? And stuff like that. So it's not divination and it's not fear. Some of the other things that we need to figure out is how to deduce whether it's fear or intuition. So to find a to know whether you're having reliable intuition is there's a conveyance of information that's neutral, or there's no emotion connected to it. When you're experiencing fear, it's highly emotionally charged, and you're probably triggered when you're experiencing fear, and it's all like in your body, whereas intuition is going to feel right in your body. And that's the next one is it real? Does it feel right in your gut? And sometimes intuition can pop in as your hair rises up on your neck or your arm. You can get a sense of this person doesn't have your greatest intention in mind. And that is intuition and that is fear, but there's irrational fear and then there's safe fear. And one of my earlier blogs from this year talks about the guidance that I have been given with a deer spirit versus a rabbit spirit, and the lessons that they have been teaching me over the past year to have healthy amount of fear and to let go at the same time and just trust the instinct to keep me safe instead of like trying to over control things. So in that vein, if it feels right in your body and you're not shutting it down, then that's your intuition. But if there's a cruel, demeaning, delusional context that's being enacted, that is your inner critic. That is the irrational fear that has been created. So another sign of intuition is it's from a place of compassion, and there's an affirmative tone that's connected to it. Therefore, so if you're feeling like you're not heart-centered, you're very logical, it feels like everything is from the head up, all the decisions is being done in the intellect, and you're not feeling it in your chest or your gut, then there's no confirmation. There's no affirmation around it being an actual thing from intuition. So another sign is you get very crisp, clear impressions. Like you automatically know the first time you see somebody, the first time you experience something, that it's right or it's wrong. Those are very clear indications. If it's coming from fear, it's going to be more of a trigger. It's going to be your past psychological wounds being exposed, and you're reacting from that place. That's the inner critic also. It's always going to be there to try to keep you safe, but it also will keep you small. So a lot of times intuition is going to make us feel uncomfortable and experience anxiety, but it feels right. It feels in flow and connected with our greater good. And so therefore, go for it. Whereas if it's digging up a lot of wounds and it's you're getting those very, very demeaning, like you shouldn't be doing this, who are you to claim that you can do this type thing, then it's probably the irrational fear, the inner critic that's popping in. So finally, you can have a detached sensation, like you're almost having an out-of-body experience when you're dealing with your intuition. And what I try to help a lot of my clients with is getting into the present, into the full body, so that you're not having that disassociated out of body, like you're rising above your body, or you feel like you're side by side with yourself, or something like that. So you don't want to have that per se, but when it's intuition, you have the sense of there's more things at work than what you're choosing to do. So when we move into irrational fear, inner critic, it diminishes that centeredness, that oneness perspective that you're connected to the universe. So if you're feeling detached and you feel like that there's other things at work in your life that are unexplainable or something like that, like it's from the divine, it is the angels, it's a higher power, the source, the universe is working for you, then it's intuition. If it's fear, it's not centered, you don't feel it in your body, oftentimes it's connected to fantasy. Dr. Carolyn Myss, MYSS, I'll drop some information about her a little bit later. She talks about how when you're in the fantasy realm, everything feels safe and you don't feel like taking action. Whereas with the intuition, you know you have to take action and it moves you toward it, but then your inner critic pops in and is like, who are you to think that you deserve this or whatever? So being able to start distinguishing between those is super, super important. And within that, since we've already established that without confidence in ourselves, intuition isn't going to work like it should. And I want to talk about Carolyn Mai's, her identifications of the 4 stages of personal power and self-esteem. And you might see some of this in your life in action. And if you do, pop in the comments what you're feeling, if you are experiencing one of these stages, or you have felt any of the other things that we have talked about. So revolution is one of the first stages, is separating ourselves from the group or tribal thought. I talk about, I have for years, I grew up, I was homeschooled, because I'm neurodivergent, and I was a very difficult child. I thought out of the box, I did things out of the box, I couldn't sit still, all of those good things. I was never on the same track as everybody else. And I call it cookie cutter society. And if you don't fit inside of that, then you're going to be shunned or separated or whatever. But that's where our authenticity lies, is in being separate from group mentality. I could go on and on talking about that, but if you find yourself being more and more separate, whether it's from your thought, whether it's your personality, you don't go with the flow of the norm, and you know that inherently it's wrong for you and how you approach life, then that's what stage you're in. Then there's the stage of involution, which is self-awareness and self-knowledge that leads to choice and action. So that's where you're starting. You've separated from communal thought, and you have started moving into what feels right and acknowledging what is best for yourself. And don't take the thought of separateness as being the end-all be-all. We, in a lot of ways, to heal and move through this, we must have a stage of separation, because we have to find stillness within ourselves. We have to find the quiet space, and then be able to learn about us, because we've been indoctrinated from sources outside of ourselves before birth, even telling us who and what we should be, and we need to separate that. But that does not mean that we need to stay separate, because we need to have unity consciousness. We need to do things for the greater good, for everything, because in the end, we are all connected. The universe is us. We are the universe. We are connected to the trees just as much as the rocks. We are part of the moving water. We are part of the dirt, and it's just a cycle. So yes, we must find autonomy, but we can't stay fully disconnected from unity, basically. So there's different stages. Then there's the stage of essential healthy self-love, which is recreating ourselves in a new image, knowing who and what we are and standing up for that. That's where we're putting in boundaries. And this self-love is separate from the capitalistic view of what self-care and self-love should look like. We're told that we need to pamper ourselves. We need to, if we're not going and getting our nails done, or going for a long spa day or something like that, that we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not self-love. But in reality, healthy self-love is taking care of our survival needs. Have we bathed today? Have we brushed our teeth? Have we combed our hair? Have we had good meals? Have we had moments of silence to take care of ourselves? So that is another stage of it. And then there's the evolution. And you might find yourself within all four of these stages simultaneously or cycling back through. It's not necessarily a straight path. It's a long winding detour, and you recircle back, and you move through all these. So the final stage that she talks about is evolution, and it's the moment of spiritual reflection, development, and growth. So at any stage you can have these, but they're all connected, they're all separate, and they serve you in the moment that you need them. So if you have any questions about the revolution, involution, essential healthy self-care, or evolution, drop it in the comments if you have any questions about that. So I want to move into what the difference is between self-esteem and self-image is, just so that we have some clarity in that before I leave you today. Self-esteem is your opinion of yourself, and we often get that convoluted and confused with self-image, which is what other people think of you. When you have self-esteem, you know whether you like yourself, what you think, how you feel about yourself, how much you respect yourself. If you don't, you might have issues with accepting, you might feel uncomfortable accepting compliments or gratitude from others for a good job that you've done. It's because we do not feel like that we deserve it, but you do. So that's self-esteem, your opinion of yourself, your worthiness, and what you're doing, what you think of yourself, your self-respect. Self-image is what other people think of you. And that's usually our base level of our own self-esteem, or what we think of ourselves. And a lot of times that's not a good, healthy place, because if you are allowing yourself to treat yourself the way that others treat you because they disrespect you, then you are not achieving the highest level of self-esteem and confidence. You have to stand up for yourself. And part of that is being able to not care. You can, get to a point where, and that's where we should all start living from, is basing it off of what we want and what feels good in our body, instead of what our family wants for us, or what our family is going to think, or what that our old family friends or colleague at work or our teacher. Ultimately, we need to be circling back to what is right for us. And the best way to do that is to become our most authentic self, and to be the conscious creator, co-creating with the universe for our our greatest good. Is that we need to practice that self-love, and that is by taking care of our survival needs, and by practicing compassion and gratitude for ourselves. And gratitude for ourselves does not mean, there's such a convoluted thought about gratitude journals and stuff like that. It's like Thanksgiving every day, and we need to live from a space of thanks all the time. And that means, instead of yes, we need to be thankful for our family, our husband, our wife, our son, our daughter, our parents. We have to be thankful for a good set of a good vehicle, good transportation, nutritious food, stuff like that. That's all important, but that's not the type of gratitude that I'm talking about. I'm talking about having gratitude and acknowledging that you are good and that you've done a good job. And so if you haven't patted yourself on the back and said, thank you, body, thank you, brain, for having me. You have provided this strong body that I can show up in my life. And when we are experiencing, like I come from a background of severe chronic pain issues, migraines and stuff like that. And when we're in those lulls, we can often start beating ourselves up. And, if we've made a mistake or we're going into self-judgment of, oh, what are other people going to think of us? If we could circle back to being grateful for what we have experienced and what we do well and how our body shows up for us by being strong and stuff, that is the true gratitude that we need to practice. So like if you've had a hard day and you've faced all of your issues and you've rolled with the punches and all that, pat yourself on the back, because that is where your gratitude practice should start always. Yes, you can list off 10 things that you're thankful for, but are you showing yourself that same quality of thanks? Okay. I just want to tie everything together and go from there. I think I got ahead of myself, but ideally in all of this, the best thing to learn as you are stepping into this is, in order to have self-esteem, you have to trust your intuition. And in order to have intuition, you have to trust your self-esteem. And they work, hand in hand. You have to have both. If you're not trusting your intuition, then you're not honoring your path in life. You're letting everybody else and everything else rule and direct your life. So you need to honor yourself and put yourself first in so many ways. And there's a lot of old outdated beliefs of, you need to do things from a space of not expecting anything in return. I understand that. You also need to you need to treat others the way you treat yourself. That's a huge thing. And also, if you're like me, you grew up in the things of you serve everyone else before yourself, and so by honoring and putting yourself first, it doesn't mean that you forget about everybody else and you're independently going through life. Don't be the jackass at the stop sign that takes out everybody and goes around and blowing their horn. Granted, sometimes your horn's necessary, but don't always think that you need to put yourself last, because we can't show up, we can't serve our community and follow our calling if we're constantly putting ourselves at the bottom. So in order to show up for yourself and your community and everybody else that you need to serve, take care of yourself first. Follow your inner guidance. And, if you need help getting started, reach out for that. You can have mentors along the path. You don't have to walk this path to healing by yourself. So, if you need to reach out, but make sure it's in alignment, because if we go back and we're just slogging through, and we're constantly, working with therapists or practitioners or something that aren't fully aligned, that don't understand us and our inner workings and will not stop long enough to listen, walk. Honor yourself. If it feels good and aligned, you'll know it. And if it's not, walk out the door. But do reach out for help when you need it. But always come back to what feels right and true for you, always. And that's the best way to start developing your confidence and developing your intuition, is by it's that infinity symbol. Everything circles back to being what's true and right and aligned for you, if you're willing to trust that. And by developing the intuition, by developing your own confidence and stepping into your true authenticity, honoring yourself, you will achieve these things. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or you need a deeper unpack on any of these things. And I'll also share some items about the Dr. Carolyn Mize and her work, because there's some really great stuff out there and everybody needs to check it out. But anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And don't forget that overthinking can spoil the magic. And I will see you next week around the same time. Much love.